So yeah, thank you very much for joining the interview. It's a great pleasure, as always, to talk to you and know more about the ICPC. So for our viewers who are not that familiar with ICPC, can you introduce yourself in one sentence and then tell us a little bit more about the competition?
Hi, I'm Bill Poucher. I'm Executive Director of the ICPC International Collegiate Programming Contest. I'm a professor at Baylor University. I am a granddad of 5 grandchildren. I have 3 daughters, 3 son-in-laws. Well, ICPC, the International Collegiate Programming Contest, was created as an extracurricular event. The whole idea behind it is very, very simple. If you want to achieve excellence, we need to look to the methods that are used to achieve excellence. And when you look at music, if you look at sports, you find that competing with other people to develop your problem-solving skills is the quickest way that we know of to advance performance. It goes right back to Socrates. It's about building habits of excellence. Well, in 1970, Texas A&M, the Alpha, that's the first chapter of the UPE Honor Society, and the ACM student chapter, invited students from surrounding universities to come and compete in a programming contest. Now, that was a pretty natural thing to do because introductory courses and courses in algorithms consist of primarily giving people a set of problems they have to figure out how to solve. More students showed up than there were key punch machines, so they divided them up into groups of 4, and that's how teamwork and the ICPC started. It caught on, it spread by various means, primarily because the Association of Computing Machinery, the ACM, was part of the fabric of computing at that time. I got involved, I think, in 1976, and that was when we had our first World Finals. And so this year we're looking forward to the 44th annual World Finals of the International Collegiate Programming Contest to be held in Moscow.
How are teams selected to represent their universities in the World Finals?
Well, the ICPC is a competition among the universities for the universities. We create a platform, shine the spotlight on the students and the faculty, industry, and community leaders who really care about excellence and problem solving. You see, there's a difference between decision-making and problem solving. Decision-making, we do all the time, but in problem solving, we actually give a list or choices to people so that they can actually succeed, and that's what we're interested in. When we advance the ability to solve problems, okay, we advance civilization. Now, back to your question, how in the world did these students selected? Well, many, many, many different ways. The world is a huge place, and the competition operates in 111 countries throughout the world, 3,400 universities. Every university does what they need to do, but they select teams to represent their universities. They compete in different levels of competition in regionals, and they then advance to the World Finals. So this past year, about 60,000 students competed from 3,400 universities, and 135 teams advanced to the World Finals that we were going to have in June of 2020, but we've moved it to June of 2021, and it's shifted our calendar year. So we are having the regionals right now as we speak. and we will have a finals for this group of regionals, but there's a lot of competition that competes with us, and one of them is a voracious virus, but it's going to lose. Okay, why? Because this world is full of great problem solvers. The digital community of this world is focusing on figuring out what this thing is, how to minimize its impact on us, and ultimately how to contain it.
What do you know, and how do you assess the level of preparations and the results of Ukrainian students?
Well, the one thing that we always look at when we're looking at hosting the World Finals, of course, is the level of participation and interest in the ICPC at the potential hosts of the World Finals. And Ukraine competition is at the top level in the world. It's just absolutely amazing. Dr. Masura has headed up a team of absolutely wonderful volunteers, and the universities and the Ukraine continue to produce really gifted, competitive students who love the ICPC. So that's why we would have it in the Ukraine. Why? Well, because the Ukraine has given us a level of competition that raised prospects of excellence for everybody.
What opportunities and advantages hosting the ICPC finals gives to the host country and the host city?
Well, you know, every hosting group has different reasons for doing it. Okay, but it all comes down to the love of raising the bar of excellence in performing in a performing art. And this is a performing art. What's the difference between this and other arts? This art fundamentally advances the prospects of global community, regional community, local community, your family, okay, and frankly, whatever room you might have your computer in. So what hosting the ICPC World Finals says is we're players. We are as intent at encouraging the next generation to become great problem solvers, okay, in computing as we are to become great soccer players. And we better be. Now, this COVID-19 pandemic that we see has been tremendously moderated by the fact that digital communications let us get together and chat and see each other. It's amazing to see the advance in digital communications and in computing in just this 1 year. But what if we hadn't been encouraging students to fully develop their skills, encouraging communities to make investments, encouraging universities to spotlight excellence in the most productive areas of university life? What if we hadn't done that? Well, the answer is, who cares? We did do it.
Well, the World Finals is a really huge event, not only in the sense of the number of participating people, but also it spans almost the whole week. What should we expect? What are the main events of the World Finals? And what is the very special thing about it?
Well, it starts off with something we call Day Zero. And Day Zero, we simply welcome all of the students to the competition, and we have all kinds of activities for them. It's a time for them to learn about the hosting community. You see, uh, when I was growing up, there was too little information. Today, there's too much information. Okay, but there's absolutely nothing that is better than getting together with other people and enjoying our common interests and expanding our horizons with our different histories, our different culture, our different interests. What you find is that there is this one wonderful spirit to humanity, okay? And trust comes from interacting with other people and working in common cause. So day one is really welcome. Let's have fun together. Because at the end of the day, no sport, no activity is ever going to be really productive unless it is fun. Now, I define fun as something that I really want to invest my time in, and I don't regret having spent the time that I spent doing it. You know, so that's one of the things that we do. Then we have a day in which we get together and enjoy the culture and the activities of the host location. So when we have this World Finals in Kiev, people will know Kiev. Kiev is one of the places that they want to be. Okay, they know that Kiev is a place that wants them to come, and these are the best and the brightest of the competitive programmers in the world. I mean, now you may look at somebody and said, well, you know, that's a 19-year-old kid. What in the world are we doing, you know, flying them to Kiev? Okay, well, you know, same reason, I suppose, as the 19-year-old kid who was the first employee of Google, okay, and the first chief technology officer of that company. And of course, you know, you can go through virtually every company in the planet today that has founders that are in their 60s, and you'll find that they competed in the ICPC, or they're friends of people who competed in the ICPC, or they relied on the talent of people who are ICPC alumni or friends in building their companies. It's just true over and over and over again. So the main reason that we do these kinds of things is community building. And we want to send a message to all the moms and dads and all the kids out there that they matter and their problem solving skills matter. And their problem solving skills can be much higher, okay, than they think without the promotion of the platform that we're going to put these students on. Then we have a test contest, if you would, a dress rehearsal, okay, just like we would if we're putting on a conference, on a concert. And then we have the actual World Finals, okay. Our goal is to have 1 billion press impressions. We want everybody to know about it. So, and we want everybody to know when we go to Ukraine and to Kiev, that building a better digital world, building a better infrastructure for life on this planet is job one for Ukraine.
Well, obviously, as soon as we come closer to organizing the World Finals, you will definitely travel to Kiev to make sure that everything goes according to the plan. But have you been to Kiev already?
Oh, yes, I've been to Kiev twice. Okay, thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been to Vinnytsia as well for the All Ukraine competition in the past. And the reality is that the ICPC community there is extraordinary. And I think that it will be great timing, okay, in the very early stage of our moving past COVID-19's impact on the world for that World Finals to be in Kiev and in Ukraine. I think it just says everything. You see, what is wonderful about the human spirit is how we deal with the crucibles of life that come our way, not by choice, okay, but it's just part of the world we were born into. Now, some people might look at those things and say, "Oh gosh, they're just absolutely horrible." And I've got to admit, COVID-19 is, and the history and the litany of all of the crucibles that people have experienced in their lives, and as small communities and as large communities. But what we do when we're in a crucible, in getting out of the crucible, defines who we are. Okay, and human beings are marvelous. Okay, we are individuals, and we are capable of joining our strengths together to accomplish amazing things. Okay, not only on this earth, but in this universe. And for me, I simply want opportunity to multiply for the next generation and the generations out, to build a better world on what we have learned in the past, and to build on our strengths rather than our weaknesses. And we'll do it.
Well, the World Finals, once again, huge event with hundreds of involved people, with over 1,000 of participants overall, both contestants and guests and coaches and ICPC organizers from all over the world. Well, it can't be easy, right? What are the most common difficulties or problems, challenges that organizers overcome each year? And what is the best way to avoid them?
Well, it's one of these things that that probably travel is job one. How do we get everybody to the World Finals? Okay, one of the things that makes a difference is when we have the full support of the community, both the city and the country, and making sure that the invited guests, the 1,600 persons who will be at that competition, are guests of the host country, of the host city, and that they're able to come without difficulty. And so one of the things we have to do is to make sure that all of the participants get passports and visas. And generally, that's very straightforward, okay? However, there are always exceptions. For instance, at the World Finals in Porto, I will forever be indebted to an ambassador in Nicosia who actually flew to Beirut to interview and fast track students and coaches from Syria so that they could compete in the World Finals. Because you see, there are many reasons for us to have laws to protect the communities that we have. But the higher the level of the organization giving the law, the blunter the law is. The law is not intended to prevent students who want to build a better world to get together and compete and strengthen their ability to do so. Okay. However, as soon as you start granting exceptions to the laws, then the seekers of exceptions come out of the woodwork. So the good news about the ICPC is that when we go into having the host competition, we work out the details so that there are very few exceptions. And then we rely on exceptional people within the community to open the doors to make sure that all of the students can compete. Sometimes we're not successful, okay? But we never give up on anyone, never.
The ICPC World Finals consists as well of quite a few ceremonies. Can you tell us a little bit about all the, traditions of the ICPC, and maybe some of them are personally your traditions when you welcome ICPC World Finalists on opening or award on closing?
Well, every World Finals that I've opened starts out by welcome to the 43rd annual World Finals of the ICPC International Collegiate Programming Contest, ICPC 2019 Porto. Okay, so that is how we kicked off the World Finals in Porto. And of course, we're going to kick off number 44 in Moscow, and either number 45 or 46 in Kiev, and so that's how we do it. And then we talk about how many students. So for instance, for that year, it was 52,709 team members and their 5,043 coaches at 3,233 universities and 110 countries, competing at 653 sites. Now, how large was the soccer league for the World Cup? You have an idea of just how much talent is involved in this. We have 400,000 ICPC alumni out working today, building a better world. And we're just very, very proud of them. Now, you have to understand, they're top prospects from universities. There's investment in their lives. We're not taking credit for it. We're actually being very, very happy to be associated with them. Okay. And that's how we kick that off, and always enjoy doing that. And then I get a chance to do the one thing that all Texans love to do: brag about their friends. I get to brag about Kiev. I get to brag about the universities. I get to brag about the community. So that's how I kick it off. How do we end it? Well, with the thought, okay, the contest is over. This contest is just amazing, and what the volunteer groups do to put it on are amazing. Okay. We're planning on doing everything to the max, okay, and we do it very inexpensively, because we're virtually, I think we have 2.5 employees or 3 employees or something like that in the ICPC. Everything is done by volunteers, by community leaders, and it'll be absolutely fantastic. And so when we do it in Kiev, okay, the one thing that we always do is outperform whoever did a previous World Finals. So right now, Moscow is raising the bar of excellence for the World Finals, and Kiev, following it, will need to do the same. Okay. So every year I see the organizing groups look at that World Final and said, how in the world are we going to, raise the bar of excellence? Well, guess what? They always do. Now, part of it is that when you host the World Finals, we look at who you are, okay? And when we are the best that we can be, it will be that much better. And I really enjoyed Kiev. We're going to try to do Kiev at a time that really shows off the beauty of Kiev. And for people to be able to see the heart and the spirit of Ukrainian universities, community leaders, and industry.
But is there something specific that differs events that are dedicated to young intellectuals, like students within the IT?
Of course, the level of competition is great, but we also explore new kinds of problem sets. So at almost all World Finals, and certainly all in the next number of years, we are going to be doing some challenges. So for instance, in 2002, what's that, 18 years ago? We had a an ICPC challenge that we called Road Rally, in which we taught people how to do object-oriented programming, multiprocessing, and things of this variety. And you're given a car as an object in a road race, and you could customize its performance. And we ran tournaments to see who could do things quickly. So it's really funny. I was at an event for one of our great sponsors, JetBrains, that builds some of the greatest tools in the world for programming. And IBM was there, and at their booth, guess what they were showing? Road Rally. They were demonstrating the capacity of their tools and their application sets and things of this variety, and in using Road Rally. And I thought that was very, very cool. I think that that's the kind of thing that I love to see. Okay, and of course we just did a day 0 virtually for the upcoming Moscow competition, and Huawei, okay, one of the world's great telecommunications and computing companies, that is a great sponsor for us, and in Asia, Eurasia, and in Europe, offered the ICPC data mining challenge. It's sort of an interesting thing, because the problem that was actually solved in finding clusters could be applied to tracking down persons who are at maximum exposure for COVID-19. Yeah. So one of the great things about the kinds of problems that we try to solve is they do have real world applications. Okay. But even after the real world application need goes away, they're usable for solving other kinds of problems.
It always seems like software engineers or students in technical professions are not really easy to communicate with, and they're not very open. On the other hand, on the World Finals, we can definitely see hundreds of best software engineers in the world communicating and enjoying that wonderful event. How do you do that?
Well, it's actually part of the challenge that any college professor faces. I get students who are 17, 18, 19 years old, okay, coming to college. And as a professor, what I want to see is for them to mature into young adults over a 4-year period of time. There are tremendous factors of change there. And the one thing that almost every college student faces is a little bit of stage fright. Uh-oh, I'm not at home. I'm not at the high school anymore. I'm at college. Everybody's looking at me. Not everybody's looking at you, but you feel like everybody's looking at you. And really bright students predominantly react to that by being quiet. Now, when you look, the other thing is that when you're watching and thinking and listening, you are quiet. Okay, so that trait of, well, you know, why aren't they a little bit more ebullient than the average student, says because they're paying attention to what's going on. Okay, that's one thing. Now, the second is that if you look at the ICPC students, they were born with a talent. Okay, they're amazing. Okay, and as a result of that, if you look at the World Finalists, they're typically 1 or 2 years younger than the average student who competes in the ICPC, and the average student that competes in the ICPC is way above average. There's a difference between a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old. So if you want to know them, okay, meet them when they're 25, when they're 26, when they're 30. Okay, so a lot of the thinking about the nature of these students is actually just completely wrong. Now, one World Finals, we had a team that asked to delay arrival by a year. Not a year, sorry, by a day. And I asked him why. I think they were from Princeton. He said, well, they were a relay team and they were competing for a spot in the Olympics. Okay. And it turned out that the finals for their relay team was held the day before. So they would run the relay team and then they would come and compete in the ICPC. Well, you know, we have soccer stars. Most people don't know that something like 75% of the world finalists once in an impromptu request raised their hand when I asked them whether they played an instrument or performed in a choral group when they were in high school or in college. So you see, music is a language of process. When you read music, it's a program, okay? And it's a multi-process program because different people are playing different parts. And so there's a very strong level of connectivity between the brilliance that is required of a computer scientist and the brilliance that is required of a musician, especially musicians who play in groups. Now, that's the other thing. If you want to be successful, you have to learn how to teach other people how to do parts of the job that you know how to do, and you have to learn as well. You have to communicate. Students who go into systems development spend far more time working with each other to understand what the problem is than coding. You're far more likely to spend more time at a computer terminal if you're if you use computers than if you build digital technology.
Are there any ICPC superstitions that you know about or that you personally look after? Maybe there is some like really specific hat that you love to wear on the World Finals that gives you luck, or are there any like signs and tokens that contestants bring with them?
Oh yeah. Well, I see buttons because one of the things we like to have is a souvenir pin, and it's always nice to see the souvenir pins of people. And sometimes I look at them and I said, 10, wow, that's pretty neat. We always have a stuffed toy that is the mascot of the finals. It could be a bear, it could be a camel, you name it. It'll be sort of interesting. You'll see those show up. It's interesting to see the bric-a-brac that students bring, because when they check in, they are allowed to have a bag of stuff that they want to have at their workstation, and often they'll have some kind of souvenir. Of course, the most important thing that you get at the World Finals is the t-shirt. I mean, these t-shirts are worth everything. Now, there is a certain past chief technology officer for Facebook who is a silver medalist, I've been told, kept his t-shirt on a separate hanger and actually stopped washing it because they didn't want it to ruin. And when he had a meeting with folks about programming, on occasion, he would take it off and pull it over the top like a smock and wear it in to remind them that he could program. I had a world finalist, a friend who is a professor at Rice University, one of the great universities in the United States. And we were chatting about the impact of the ICPC on his life. And he had the opportunity to be a part of IBM research, and of course was acknowledged because of the work that he did, but we helped shine the spotlight on it. And he said yes. He says, but you know what I really like about it? Among all the faculty at Rice, I'm the one that the students all believe can program. You know, it turns out that when you're in research and development, as I mentioned before, more and more of your time are spent with people and with organization and in search of clarity. Okay, and so sometimes your basic problem solving skills, when it comes to high performance and optimization, fall a little bit behind. I mean, the only way that I get to go to the World Finals is I'm executive director.
It's always thought that the competitions, the specialized competitions, are something that only the best of the best can do, even on the very early stages. If we are talking about school Olympiads, far from all students can even think about participating in those. They consider that being a privilege of, you know, students who actually get all the best grades. Do you see ICPC as something that only top students can do, or is there something in it for everyone?
Oh no, there's something in it for everyone. If you want to learn quickly, you have to develop habits of excellence. And the very best way you can do that is by learning with others who are learning, who are a little bit ahead of you. And when you think about the ICPC community plus plus, that's basically everybody on the planet who's in competitive programming. And here's an example. When we had the ICPC data mining challenge, thanks to the sponsorship of Huawei, it was hosted by Codeforces, okay, which is a platform that is an ICPC community platform in that Mike developed it, a past world finalist and coach, and they and he participated in making sure that that event was successful. And if you go to Codeforces or Top Coder, it was formed in the early days. If you go to Peking University, they have online judge there. If you go to the ICPC online judge site, there are lots of opportunities to participate online in competitive programming, and it starts at whatever level you want to start in. So if you would, if you look at the Olympics, okay, and something like the 100-meter dash, okay, can the only people who run 100 meters be Olympic athletes? No, they're the ones who can do it in 10 seconds, right? But if you can walk 100 meters, you can start training to get better at that. There is a little bit of a difference, though. And that is that when you train in competitive programming, you develop your mind to be able to see patterns that you will not likely see by discovery by accident. You're going to develop an understanding of the processes of the world and the structures of the world. You know, now if you look out at the scenery in the back, a little piece of Texas that I have on a green screen behind me here, okay, you can see the riot of greens that are out there and all of that living life there. It's just absolutely amazing. There's so much to know, so much to discover. But if you don't have the tools for describing it, if you don't have the tools for describing how it lives, if we don't understand the science and the math of process and living, we hit a dead end pretty soon. Don't despair. actually just looking at it and being thankful is sufficient to fill the moment. Okay. But what can I say? We need to be a successful community, we humans. We need to learn from our past and to repeat our successes and to discover who we can become. And we need to do that for each other and for the next generation. Okay. And when we do that, we are part of this ride of life that you see behind us. Okay. And I don't know of anything that's better than that. What would I wish for Ukraine as they plan to host the World Finals? Oh, that's simple. I wish for them the joy of discovering that as wonderful as they are, as capable as they are, okay, they will outperform, okay, any expectation that anyone has of them, because they will be the champions of the World Finals they host.